So what that gentleman was doing was using his social credit in order to get access to the gas station so he could get fuel for his vehicle. This is something that both the Chinese government and Chinese corporations execute across the board. It's a social credit system. And I'm going to talk a little bit about this system. So, have you ever watched Black Mirror or read various books by George Orwell? Because if you have, China's social credit system might feel eerily familiar. And it's actually a bit weirder as well as somewhat scarier given what the implications are if you have a bad score. So it all started back in 2007 when China got this idea for a social credit system, and by 2014 they began to implement it. However, they introduced it originally as an opt-in. And it's not just a government thing. Big corporations have their own spin-offs too. Companies like Alibaba have a buyer-seller social credit system similar to eBay. Imagine being judged though by the government, not just if you pay your bills, not just if you actually do truly illegal things, but who you hang out with or what it is you buy. It's like an eBay rating system, but for everything in your life, not just your purchases on that one site. Credit systems are not new though. The United Kingdom, the United States, many countries have credit check systems. Things like Experian, Equifax, TransUnion, they track whether you are good for a loan or you're financially responsible. Even when you're getting an Uber, there's a rating system for the driver and the passenger. Everyone gets rated involved. So it's not like we're seeing something that is completely new. But what China is doing is taking systems like Experian and putting them towards your life choices, not just your financial choices. If you jaywalk, if you play your music a little too loud on the train, you might want to think twice about doing things that require a higher social credit score, such as trying to take a flight. Here are some other things that negatively impact your social credit. And mind you, these vary by region within China. If you cheat in online games, it could hit your social credit. If you share false information, even if you don't know you're sharing it, and frankly, who determines what is false information is somewhat of a mystery, although we do know that the Chinese Communist Party heavily influences that arena. If you are caught buying too many video games, if you buy too much healthy food, if you walk your dog without a leash, and even if you don't visit your parents, and apparently your parents have to rat you out, all of these things can negatively affect your social credit. So here's kind of the baseline plan here, as it was revealed in 2014. It's a complex web of systems, of tracking systems online, in real life, in your purchases, facial recognition, etc. Some of them are government-backed. Some are corporate-driven, like the monitoring system from Ant Financial. They call the system Sesame Credit. Here's where it gets really concerning, though. Private ventures funnel their data straight to the Chinese Communist Party. The media sometimes says that Sesame Credit is just a social credit system, but it's not that simple. When private systems start syncing and feeding government systems and providing the government with data, it's like the government having access to your Amazon purchases, your Spotify playlists, your Netflix account, your web browsing habits, even your late night food delivery habits, and they get to do it in real time whenever they want, warrant or no warrant. It's just the access the CCP has. It's like a never-ending loop of data with no transparency. The CCP is watching them and taking notes. How does it work, though, for the individual? Well, in essence, everyone gets a score tied to their identification. If you go to a website and you pop in someone's identification, you can see their, quote, trustworthiness score or their social credit score. These are reports that generally aren't provided to the individual, but corporations have access to them by purchasing that, as well as the government clearly has access. There are discussions and reports of blacklists, and these have been shown to be real things where you can be blacklisted from certain things based on your social credit score. Get a bad score or refuse to pay a fine, you're going to be blacklisted. And like the guy in the video, you may not be able to get gas. It's different. Again, it's different everywhere. It's different at every region of China, with some places starting you off at 0, some places start you off at 1,000 and then add or deduct based on your behaviors. And sometimes it's just cumulative. And it's driven by all these systems tracking you, including facial recognition. So you get caught by the facial recognition system jaywalking, that camera in real time can affect your social credit score, and you might lose some points without any due process. Private systems like Sesame Credit analyze everything. They check if you're gaming too much, like I said before. If you're actually a parent, dating sites even use the social credit score for matching you. So forget being judged just by your looks and your profile. You're now judged by your social credit in China. Now, China claims the system is voluntary, but as you know, you clearly can't get gas if your social credit is low. What else can they do if you have low social credit? Well, they can throttle your internet speeds, deny bookings for cars, hotels, flights. They can restrict your access to venues such as concert halls. They can restrict access to jobs. They can restrict access to public services like buses. And even reports of limiting the educational opportunities of the children of parents with low credit scores is being reported across China. That is just gross. The real world examples are apparent. There was a journalist named Li Hu who wrote about touchy subjects in China and got blacklisted. And suddenly he couldn't buy plane tickets or purchase property in China. Just like that, his freedoms were gone. If you land on that list, your options are limited. The justice system certainly won't help because this is a power play by the Chinese Communist Party. They basically took Mao's old strategy and threw some 21st century tech into the mix. China is basically the big brother surveillance state that we all read about and never thought would come to fruition, but really did. They've got tight controls on their internet. Remember Tiananmen Square, those protests, guys standing in front of the tank, even a whisper of that on social media earns you a drop in your social credit. And facial recognition technology is insane there. They showcased it to the BBC by tracking a journalist across an entire city, and there are 550 million cameras active in China. And when you look at places like Xinjiang, which is a lab for surveillance, they monitor very tightly and even in the homes of the Uyghur Muslims who are imprisoned and are continuously harassed by the Chinese Communist Party. The scary thing is in 2019, China said the system is still in its, quote, embryonic stage with full implementation not occurring until 2025. So we're not seeing the full brunt of this system right now. And the Kremlin is working with China to implement a similar system across Russia. So this is a very scary time for those countries where they're going to be a part of not only a nanny state, a big brother state, but a state where there is no privacy. And even if there is no privacy, your private acts, what you do, both in public and private, online, on your phone, in your relationships, is going to drive the type of citizen the CCP or even the Kremlin allows you to be.